So next we're going to do the same kind of organization and renaming of objects, but this time for the geometry that was generated through the knowledge pattern. So that's all this geometry here. And this is actually another advantage of scripting through knowledge patterns, is that it's actually very easy to rename things and move things as opposed to doing manually like we just did with the core. Because within the knowledge pattern you specify where the geometry goes. You can change that just with one command. And you also have the option of naming everything in sequence. So we're going to take a look at our knowledge pattern. Well, first of all, let's just make sure that we have these analytical sets, because we're going to change and say, instead of putting geometry into the base sets, we're going to put it into these subsets. So here we have all of them already. So let's go into our knowledge pattern. And we can start with the first instantiation. Here I'm making the points around the perimeter. And here I'm specifying what geometric set to put those points into. So we just want to go in and change it from the main point instances set to the point subset within that. And then here we were naming it something convenient just for our own reference. This time we want to change this name to the specific naming convention that is specified in the text file. So again, that was capital P-T. Then this will give us the number because K is counting our points in this case. And then we also want to add the string underscore fixed for now. Okay, so let's just make sure that works. If we delete all this geometry and hit refresh, it should recreate those points, naming them sequentially in order in the points subset. Now there's two problems with this, right? Because first of all, right now they're all fixed, but we want to specify that just the points touching the ground are fixed and the rest are free. And also it started counting at 1. And like I said before, it's crucially important that all your points down the structure of your tree are named sequentially. So in this case, we had stopped at number 12, so we want this to pick up at 13. And this is pretty easy to do in the code. You'll just have to figure out for your specific situation how to get around these things. In this case, we want to start, instead of starting at 1, start at 13. So that's pretty easy. We just add 12 to K and it should start at 13. Now for the fixed versus free, we wanted to know whether it's the first 12 points or any points after that. So we're just going to put in a conditional statement. So we know here that our spacing denotes how many points per floor, and we know that everything on the first floor has to be fixed. So we put in a conditional that relates to that spacing value. So we say if K, which in this case is counting our points, is smaller than or equal to spacing, then, and in this case this was going to be all on the first floor, so we keep that fixed. And then we just add an else statement, and we can copy and paste this name here and just change this to free. So now this will take all the points in the first floor, call them fixed, and then every floor above that, call them free. So now if we hit OK, hit execute and upgrade, it should rename all our points the correct way. So here it's starting at 13, calling the first 12 fixed, and then the rest free after that. So that's for the points. Now we want to go through and do the same thing for all the line structural members. So if we go back into our knowledge pattern, these are the loops that are instantiating the line geometry. We see the first one here. I'm creating the beams. So we want to change that to the line subset within the beam instances geometric set. And then we also want to put in a naming command. So we can just copy the one we're using for the points. We change this to the proper variable, line 1. And then here we want to go back and get the proper syntax for naming lines. And again, it goes line, then the number, and then you have a choice of 3 tube sizes that you can specify in these parameters. In this case, I want to break it down to where the columns are all size tube 0. All the beam members are going to be size tube 1. And then all the struts are going to be size tube 2. And that'll let me change those parameters with each experiment. So here I'm dealing with beams. So I want to change this to line. And then the counter in this case is n, so I want to change this to n. And then I want to change this to tube 0, 1. We can copy this. Scroll down. Here I'm creating the columns, so I paste that in. Make sure the variable is the same. Change the counter to k to match that. And then I said that I want the columns to be size tube 0, so I change that there. Go down. Here I'm creating the perimeter beams. I'm going to paste the renaming code. Again, change the variable to match. In this case, line 2. Change the counter. In this case, it's m. And then, since they're beams, I want to keep tube 1. And then finally, with the struts, I want to also rename those. Change counter to j, and I want those to be size tube 2. And then also paste that into here. And just make sure as you go along that your variable names always match and your counters always match, so you're counting the right thing. And then finally I want to go through and change some of these geometrical sets like I did with the first case. So instead of going to strut instances, I'm going to go into the lines subfolder, do the same thing for the 2 above. Just going to fix that and deleted something by accident. So again, change geometric set and do the same thing for both of these. Looks like I deleted something again. I'm just going to go ahead and fix this again. So here it was going to perimeter beams. Okay, I'll try not to do that again. And then finally, column instances in here. So, okay, this all looks good, so let's see if it worked. Okay. Just might have to fix some syntax that got deleted. Okay. So find the struts. Okay. So now if we go through and delete all the instantiated geometry, update the model. So now I regenerate geometry and put it in the right subsets. Also name it the correct thing with the correct designations. So now that we've done that, we're pretty much converted all the geometry to something that CatBot can read. We've done the core. We've also done all the other points and lines that make up the rest of the structure. And next we're going to put in some specific plates that will apply load to the model.